because Delta-8 THC is unregulated in Oklahoma. And state marijuana regulators want to change all of that, you guys. Often packaged like candy and displayed prominently at convenience store counters, Delta-8 THC products are popular, profitable, and, for now, unregulated. Delta-8, we don't need that. But Adrena Berry, executive director of the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority, also cautioned that an age minimum to buy such products has not yet been imposed here, which means stores and manufacturers are left to set those requirements, and that means that Delta-8 products could be more accessible to minors, she says. Our bottom line is that these products are very similar to medical marijuana, Berry said. Some of them are even stronger than medical marijuana products and need to be regulated and tested like medical marijuana, she says. Those in Oklahoma medical or marijuana industry are aware that the state authorities have Delta-8 in their crosshairs, and some say regulation here will lead to businesses losses and higher costs passed on to remaining customers. Jenny Flowers, owner of Urban Wellness Dispensary in Norman, told the Oklahoman that those without medical marijuana cards make up about 30% of his business. And Flowers said that the Delta-8 he buys already has been tested in the states from where it comes. In a quote, he says, "It would have a great impact on us," he said. "Right now, today, I ship all my Delta-8 from other states, so if they tried to make Delta-8 THC like medical marijuana, we have to get everything tested on top of that. Of course, we have to pass that cost off to the consumers, and if the state wanted us to retest on top of that, it's going to be a big problem," he says. It's a problem many states have dealt with since the passage of the 2018 Farm Bill, and the bipartisan legislation had a loophole that made hemp and hemp products legal if they contain no more than 0.3 THC of a specific cannabinoid, that being Delta-9 THC. Delta-8, which might get some people high, is said to have weaker effects than Delta-9 THC, the intoxicating component found in marijuana, and lawmakers in tobacco-growing states were among those who pushed to legalize hemp as an alternative to growing tobacco. Now, entrepreneurs and regulators are watching Congress to see whether the 2023 Farm Bill will require the U.S. Food Drug Administration to regulate hemp-derived cannabinoids such as Delta-8. And in a quote, they say, "Everything is going to hinge off the 2023 Farm Bill," Flowers said. Perhaps 50 years ago, researchers did not imagine Delta-8 products packaged in colorful bags sitting near packs of gum and breath mints in convenience stores across the United States. But that's what the 0.3 threshold was set in as a research article by botanicist Ernest Small and Arthur Conquest, who acknowledged that it was adopted arbitrarily to distinguish between hemp with limited intoxicant ability and with considerable intoxicant ability. The Farm Bill used that threshold in federal law. State by state, lawmakers have scrambled to craft legislation, and in a quote, "Hemp-based Delta-8 THC products are not addressed in the Oklahoma Industrial Hemp Program." Lee Benson, spokesperson for the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, told the Oklahoman in an email. He says, "The hemp program rules address Delta-9 THC. Any licensed plants producing industrial hemp are subject to at least annual routine inspection and sampling to verify that the plant meets the definition of industrial hemp. Licensed plants may also be inspected at ODAFF and receives a complaint against a licensed plant or product." Meanwhile, the FDA has issued several warnings about Delta-8, and those warnings include an uptick in adverse event reports to the FDA and the nation's poison control centers, marketing of products in a way that might appeal to children, and concern about contamination due to manufacturing methods. And the FDA says Delta-8 THC products often involve the use of potentially harmful chemicals, while the natural amount of Delta-8 THC in hemp is very low. And additional chemicals are needed to convert other cannabinoids in hemp, such as CBD and Delta-8, according to the FDA. And the agency says manufacturers might use potentially unsafe household chemicals to make Delta-8 THC through a chemical synthesis process. The FDA also says that some of the Delta-8 products may be labeled simply as hemp products, which may mislead consumers who associate hemp with being non psychoactive. And the agency is also concerned about products that are marketed for therapeutic or medical purposes that have not been approved by regulators. In a quote, they say Delta-8 THC products have not been evaluated or approved by the FDA for safe use and may be marketed in ways that put the public health at risk, the agency says on its website. And the FDA is aware of the growing concern surrounding Delta-8 THC products currently being sold online and in stores, and these products have not been evaluated or approved by the FDA. And they say then that they are not safe for use in any context. Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Authority Chief of Staff Barrett Brown echoed these concerns while saying Oklahoma lawmakers need to regulate Delta-8 here, and there is no one out there making sure these products are tested, remove heavy metals, he said, and consumers oftentimes don't know what they are getting. Flowers, the dispensary owner, said his customers know exactly what they're getting. Oh, do they? I wonder about that. His products come with different certificates of analysis, Flowers said. The certificates indicate the growers he buys from and have sent samples to third-party labs for evaluation of various properties, including possible contaminants. In a quote, it's like anything else, Flowers said. It all depends on what company you get it from. A lot of companies include certificates of analysis, and a lot of companies don't provide that compliance material or evidence of how clean it is. You can get it cheap, but cheap is not always best, he says. Flowers suggests the public should be more concerned about drug recalls than Delta-8. And in a quote, he says, no one's died from this in history of mankind, he said. Not one documented case. Still, others urge caution. And though similar to Delta-9 THC, Delta-8 is not well studied and could have unexpected effects on human health. Danielle Palmelli, the director of University of California Irvine Center for the Study of Cannabis, told the Oklahoman in an email, it's made in the lab from cannabidiol under poorly controlled conditions. Impurities due to the preparation process may be toxic, he said. However, Dr. Palmelli said that banning Delta-8 might not be a good answer either. And he also says, at a minimum, we should make sure the production of Delta-8 is done safely. And Dr. Palmelli says that this is a job for the FDA, which unfortunately is underfunded and unable to carry out this type of work. On the other hand, I do not think that making Delta-8 illegal, for example, by including it in a Schedule 1, is a solution to the problem. The only tangible effect would be to make it harder for scientists to study it, while shady manufacturers would turn to something else like Delta-10, THC, acetate, or whatnot. And Barry, the authority's executive director, said conversations about Delta-8 regulation are being held with state and federal representatives, and asked about the potentially for public concern over the agency's ability to take on more regulatory responsibility. The authority at times has been under scrutiny for its perceived inability to keep up with enforcing marijuana standards. Barry offered assurances. In a quote, he says, I think that if those statements were made 2 years ago, I would agree, she said. But in the last 2 years, we've made progress on getting staff in place, and we are in a place now where making progress on the regulation of the medical marijuana industry, and we want to make sure it's regulated, whether it's us or another agency, they say. Well, Oklahoma, it sounds like they're coming to eat your lunch with Delta-8. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour.
This is just all the government's fault. All of it.
Every last bit of it.
We wouldn't even be having any of these issues if this plant had never been taken away from us.
Mm-hmm.
This would not be an issue here today.
Surprise.
Yeah.
It is good that they're
like
testing it, though, for purity and for consumer sake. I'll throw that in there.
It's good, right?
I mean, any
But
retailer,
For the Yarrow?
any
we need more
retailer,
consumer education.
yeah. I mean, any retailer that says that they're testing it, I'm not buying a whole hell of a lot of this personally. I think this guy is smoke and mirrors, in my opinion.
I mean, it's not hard to verify a certificate of analysis.
I agree with that.
I
agree with that.
Careful as a retailer. You are insisting to your customers that I have tested product. It's clean. You should be able to prove that you have a real lab result, not one that was just made up on,
Mm-hmm.
website somewhere.
COA from Canva.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Canva for all of your COA needs.
Bitches, it's Monday.
Yeah.
Sorry for being tardy.
Yeah, big shout out
Yes.
to Canva.
Mhm. I mean,
Get them as a sponsor, Jason.
does anyone find it interesting that Oklahoma doesn't have any type of age barrier for any other type of cannabinoid compounds?
Neither does Texas.
Didn't know that. Wow.
I find that extremely amazing. So basically, I could be 7 years old and just walk into a store and pick up a Delta-8 vape cartridge and be on my way.
Yeah, that was the big deal when we were out in Texas, man.
Yeah.
At South by Southwest last year.
I'd
You can get that shit anywhere.
set up a store in my locker in school and probably be slanging to all these pens to all the teachers.
Yeah, there's like literally no age limit, no anything you can buy. You can buy. Go in there, your backpack on, just go load it up.
Mm-hmm.
Head straight to the bathroom, set up shop.
Bro, this shit is just so wild to me.
All that age-restricted stuff is trouncing on my rights as a minor.
That's how you're feeling, Yarrow? You want your kids consuming Delta-8, huh?
Oh God, no! Are you kidding?
No, you don't trust
The
it?
side effects that could have on their annual fentanyl consumption could be really challenging for us.
Oh God. Oh man.
Yeah, it's
geez.
like Mandy said, it's the government's fault. They opened this can of
Government's
worms.
fault.
And they can't get them back in there.
I agree with you. It's government's fault, but we're going to see what they're going to do because the new 2018 Farm Bill is going to come out, and I'm willing to bet that a lot of these loopholes are going to get sealed up or cemented over.
We'll see.
How silly you have to feel as one of the individuals who helped create the original, like, regulatory body of this plant. Just thinking about CBD and THC, like we let people make laws just regulating 2 cannabinoids. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
If they follow the science from the beginning, we wouldn't be in this problem, right?
Right.
Cannabis is cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
True.